Chapter 179. After returning to the Red Cloud sect's courtyard, Yang Kai's mood was somewhat heavy. If he hadn't met the madam, he would have tried to steal a ship and leave this place. But now, he didn't want to leave. Since the Red Cloud sect had obtained the entire turtle shell, they would certainly take action. The map they obtained was only the map of the outside. The most important part was in his hands. Yang Kai felt that he couldn't waste the madam's good intentions. She had mustered up the courage to let him memorize the map, not to let him bury it. If he guessed correctly, the Red Cloud sect would certainly take action within the next few months. Yang Kai thought about a lot of things and also had his own speculations. Yang Kai guessed that the reason why Miao Huaqing wanted to give the complete turtle shell to the Red Cloud sect was because of his son's future. On the other hand, it was because the Miao family didn't have the strength to explore the mysterious island. Therefore, he wanted to use this opportunity to gain a good impression of the Red Cloud sect and create a good future for Miao Lin. The internal map of the island was enough to allow him to avoid most of the risks and reach the most important place. Yang Kai didn't know what kind of secrets were hidden in the mysterious island, but it was certainly worth the risk. The only problem now was how to sneakily work together with the Red Cloud sect. They had the map of the mysterious island. If he didn't go with them, he would never be able to reach that place. For the next few nights, Yang Kai frequently went out to inquire about information. From the conversations of some disciples, Yang Kai learned that the Red Cloud sect's higher-ups had obtained a mysterious sea map and were preparing for it. They wanted to go out and explore. These ordinary disciples didn't know much about the matter. They only vaguely heard about it from the conversations of the higher-ups. As for the specific situation, they weren't very clear. While Yang Kai was thinking hard about how to safely infiltrate the Red Cloud sect's exploration team, early one morning, the shouts of the Red Cloud sect's disciples could be heard in the courtyard. Not long after, all the ordinary people who were caught gathered together. These people looked frightened. Someone whispered, "Why are we going to pick herbs again? We have only been back for a few days. Didn't we pick herbs once a month?" "Heh, we are not going to pick herbs this time. As for what we are going to do, you don't need to ask. Just board the ship as usual." The Red Cloud sect disciple replied with a smile. When Yang Kai heard this, his heart trembled. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly came to a realization. If his guess was correct, then this morning was really an opportunity. As usual, they arrived at the seaside. At this moment, there was a ship that was even bigger than the ones they had seen in the past. This ship was about 20 zhang long and had 5 masts. The sails of the ship fluttered in the wind. The bow of the ship was like the head of a dragon, and its appearance was grand and flamboyant. Many people had never seen such a large ship in their lives, so they couldn't help but be shocked. Heavens, this is the Red Cloud sect's largest dragon boat. Where is it taking us? A knowledgeable person whispered. Yang Kai was more and more certain of his guess. Who would have thought that when he had racked his brains to find a way to sneak into the Red Cloud sect's exploration team, they would actually take the initiative to bring him here. The Red Cloud sect didn't bring these ordinary people to explore the treasures, but to work on the large ship. If they wanted to operate such a large ship, they would certainly need a lot of manpower. Thinking of this, Yang Kai's expression calmed down. Since this was the Red Cloud sect's exploration ship, there must be an expert on it. An expert that was more powerful than the Yuan-Chi realm was the Immortal Ascension Boundary. He could hide in front of an Yuan-Chi cultivator, but if an Immortal Ascension Boundary expert was interested and used their divine sense to spy on him, he would be exposed. Therefore, he had to be very, very careful. He absolutely couldn't reveal any flaws, otherwise he would die without a burial place. Along with the crowd, the Red Cloud sect cultivator caught up to the ship. Under the guidance of the cultivator, there were nearly 70 ordinary people who each received a different kind of work. Yang Kai's luck was good. He wasn't assigned to the bottom row and was responsible for miscellaneous tasks. There was no fixed task, but he had to do everything. This was exactly what Yang Kai wanted. Although it was safer to hide in the bottom row, Yang Kai was more willing to stay on the deck and inquire about all kinds of information. As long as he was cautious, he wouldn't attract the attention of the Immortal Ascension Boundary experts. After waiting for a long time, a group of people from the Red Clouds sect arrived. Leading them were two old men. They were in the prime of their lives. They had red skin and white hair. Their eyes were like lightning. They had a dignified air about them. These two people were the top experts of the Red Cloud sect. One of them was an old man and the other was an old woman. They were talking and laughing as they walked towards the ship. Behind them were many of the Red Cloud's sect's cultivator. There were both men and women. In total, there were about 50 of them. They were all the elites of the Red Cloud sect. A middle-aged man from the Red Cloud sect who was originally on the ship quickly shouted, "Welcome, martial uncles." Once he shouted, the Red Cloud sect disciples on the ship also hurriedly responded. The old man and old woman smiled and lightly floated onto the ship. Looking around, the old woman asked, "Is everything ready?" The middle-aged man respectfully replied, "Everything is ready. Now, we are only waiting for the arrival of the two martial uncles. Then we can set sail." The old man replied and waved his hand. "You go and arrange it. Your martial uncle Lon and I will be in seclusion in the cabin. If there is nothing important, do not disturb us." "Yes." When the two immortal ascension boundary old men stepped into the cabin, Yang Kai involuntarily breathed a sigh of relief. The middle-aged man's position in the Red Cloud sect should not be low. He stood on the ship and arranged for the cultivator to board. After busying himself for half an hour, under his command, the ship slowly started to move. Yang Kai stood on the deck, pretending to do something while silently memorizing the direction of the ship. The ship broke through the wind and waves. It could travel 1,000 miles in one day and night. Gradually, there were no islands around, only the boundless ocean. The sun set and the moon rose. Yang Kai stayed on the ship for 3 days. He carefully did chores and learned some things from the conversations of the cultivator who boarded the ship. The purpose of this ship carrying so many people was indeed to explore that mysterious island. However, the cultivator of the Red Clouds sect called the mysterious island the Hidden Island. This word reminded Yang Kai of the many strange things he had heard in Sea City. The Hidden Island was one of them. It was rumored that the scenery in the sea serpent's embrace was not fake. But somewhere in the depths of the ocean, there was a real existence. But for some unknown reason, these scenes spread thousands of miles away and were imprinted in the eyes of the residents of Sea City. The places that appeared in the sea serpent's embrace could not be reached by ordinary means. Only with the island pass could one approach and enter. These islands that could not be easily approached and could not be seen were called the Hidden Island. On the Hidden Island, there was wealth, martial arts, and cultivation methods that could allow one to soar to the sky. There were also innumerable treasures of heaven and earth. Everyone wanted to go to the Hidden Island, but they always had no way. But now, this opportunity had fallen on the head of the Red Cloud sect. Therefore, the Red Cloud sect dispatched their elites and even dispatched 2 immortal ascension boundary experts to go to the Hidden Island to see what was going on. The Red Cloud sect only had 4 immortal ascension boundary experts. But now, half of them were gone. This showed the sect's determination. In the past few days, Yang Kai heard the most talk about the Red Cloud sect's cultivators yearning for the mysterious Hidden Island. He imagined what kind of opportunities and adventures he would obtain there. Yang Kai thought of the Heaven's Cave inheritance. He woke up the old demon who had been in seclusion and asked him. Only then did he know that the Hidden Island should not be the Heaven's Cave inheritance. Maybe it was because a master occupied an island to cultivate, but did not want to be disturbed by outsiders. Therefore, he arranged some kind of array to make the island disappear from the world's view. Or this hidden island had a natural array that ordinary people could not see. But in any case, there was indeed an opportunity in the Hidden Island. Yang Kai also remembered the names and strength of many of the Red Cloud sect's disciples through the chat. The middle-aged man was called Yu Xiaoping. He was Yuan Qi 9th stage and was an elder of the Red Cloud sect. Yuan Qi could be an elder. This Red Cloud sect was indeed not comparable to High Heaven Pavilion. Moreover, their immortal ascension boundary experts were old. Although the elders of High Heaven Pavilion were also old, they were definitely younger than the 2 martial uncles. Of the two immortal ascension boundary experts who boarded the ship, the old man was called Ding Jiazi, Immortal Ascension Boundary 5th Stage. The old woman was called Huxiang Lan, Immortal Ascension Boundary 4th Stage. Both of them were grand elders of the Red Cloud sect. Usually, they would only meditate in seclusion within the sect. After all, half of their necks were already buried in the ground. If not for the importance of this matter, they would not have appeared. On this day, Yang Kai was silently cleaning the deck when he suddenly heard someone talking. Why are you here alone? Didn't Miao Lin accompany you? Hearing the two words Miao Lin, Yang Kai's ears immediately perked up. He remembered that the Jiang family's madam had said that Miao Huacheng's son was called Miao Lin. He was the one who instigated the calamity that befell the Jiang family. Was it the same person? Yang Kai paid attention, but his hands did not stop moving. He deliberately walked over to the person who was talking and quietly looked up. On the other side of the ship, there was a beautiful woman enjoying the sea breeze. She wore a light blue dress, and the sea breeze made her dress stick tightly to her body, outlining her graceful curves. She was about 20 years old, with a perky chest, a slender waist, and slender legs. Her skin was not the usual wheat color of the seaside, but rather white like mutton fat jade, so delicate that it could be broken by the wind. However, this woman's expression was quite arrogant. Her eyes carried a sense of superiority. Beside her stood a middle-aged man. It was the Red Cloud sect's elder, Yu Xiaoping. It turns out that this woman is his daughter, Yu Aoen. Yang Kai understood. He had heard the name Yu Ao in many times in the past few days. Many young disciples of the Red Cloud sect were talking about her in private. Just like Su Yan's position in the High Heaven Pavilion, Yu Aoen was also the object of admiration of many young elites in the Red Cloud sect. Chapter 180. Hearing Yu Xiaoping's inquiry, Yu Aoqing's face showed a touch of impatience and disgust. She gritted her teeth and said, "He can't wait to stick to me." "Oh, you don't like him?" Yu Xiaoping laughed. "What do you think?" Yu Aoqing snappily retorted. "Bear with it, this time, we still have to rely on him." Although Miao Huaqing gave us the map, he did not tell us much about his research over the years. He only taught Miao Lin, so if we want to find the hidden island, Miao Lin is indispensable. Yu Xiaoping softly comforted. Yu Aoqing's pretty face was bitter as she gently shook Yu Xiaoping's arm. "Father, it's not like you don't know what kind of person he is. In the morning he even tried to make a move on me. If it weren't for your repeated warnings, I would have thrown him into the sea." Yu Xiaoping's face was cold. "He made a move on you?" Yu Aoqing felt very wronged. Before this incident, she had never heard of Miao Lin, but because of this incident, she had to compromise and appease Miao Lin. For the proud and arrogant Yu Aoqing, this was tantamount to torture. "You have been wronged." Yu Xiaoping's complexion was not good. Yu Aoqing was his daughter. He naturally treasured her and hoped that she could marry a dragon in the future and live a happy life. Miao Lin had no connections. He had no aptitude, and he had no strength. In the past, he was not even worthy of carrying his daughter's shoes, but now, in order to obtain information from Miao Lin, he could only let his daughter sacrifice her body. "Rest assured, when we find the hidden island, Father will uphold justice for you." Yu Xiaoping comforted. "I really hope we can arrive early." Yu Aoqing gnashed her teeth. "When we get there, I will throw him into the sea." "As long as you are happy." Yu Xiaoping smiled slightly. He did not care at all, as if his daughter was only talking about throwing an animal away. Sea City's Miao Huaqing would never have thought that things would develop to this point. He offered the sea map with the intention of fighting for a good future for his son. He wanted the Red Cloud sect to pay attention to Miao Lin. The Red Cloud sect's upper echelons also agreed to Miao Huaqing's request and wanted to focus on cultivating Miao Lin. But Miao Lin did not want to overestimate himself, thinking that his ability had increased, and set his sights on Yu Aoqing. This was simply playing with fire. While they were talking, Yu Xiaoping suddenly said, "That brat is chasing over. You, if you really don't want to, then avoid him. But remember, don't lose your temper with him." "I know." Yu Aoqing's chest heaved as she took a deep breath. Yu Xiaoping quickly left. A moment later, a young man in his 20s came to the deck, a look of expectation on his face as he looked around. When he saw Yu Aoqing standing at the side of the ship, he couldn't help but smile and quickly ran over. Was this Miao Lin? Yang Kai memorized his appearance but didn't show it on his face. The young lady of the Jiang family bit her tongue and committed suicide because she didn't want to be humiliated. Miao Lin was a man of striking appearance, except that his face was a little sallow. Other than the fact that his footsteps were a little shaky, everything else was fine. Rather than calling such a person a cultivator, it would be better to call him a hedonistic young master who indulged in wine and women. After all, the Miao family still had some power in Sea City. It was enough to support him in his extravagance outside. He came to Yu Aoqing's side, his eyes filled with unconcealed love. Affectionately, he said softly, "Senior Sister Qing. The wind on the deck is strong, be careful not to catch a cold." Although Yu Aoqing was disgusted to death, she had to squeeze out a stiff smile. "It's fine, the air on the sea is clear, it can blow away people's troubles." Yu Aoqing's words were implicit, but Miao Lin acted as if he didn't understand at all, smiling gently. "So Senior Sister Qing is in a bad mood? Is there something unhappy? You might as well tell Junior Brother. Junior Brother is willing to share your worries." Yu Aoqing's beautiful face flashed a trace of hidden anger, but she still smiled and shook her head, reserved and beautiful. Yang Kai was cleaning the deck, listening to the two talk, one feigning civility, the other in high spirits, and in his heart he couldn't wait to throw Miao Lin into the sea. Yu Aoqing hinted again and again, but he still acted as if he didn't understand, or perhaps he did, but he still shamelessly pestered her. It was really hard to have a good impression of him. The two of them talked for a long time. Just as Miao Lin was in high spirits, showing off the prestige of the Miao family in Sea City, a loud bang suddenly came from the bottom of the big boat. Immediately, the whole big boat shook. Standing on the side of the ship, Miao Lin and Yu Aoqing both lost their footing and almost fell into the sea, but the two of them were cultivator after all. Their reactions were naturally extraordinary, extremely agile, and hurriedly stabilized themselves. It was unknown what Miao Lin was thinking. Perhaps he wanted to play the hero at the critical moment to win the favor of the beauty, or perhaps he wanted to take advantage of the situation, but after stabilizing himself, he actually exclaimed, "Senior Sister, be careful." While shouting, he reached out and hugged Yu Aoqing's waist. Yu Aoqing was a proud woman, even talking to him made her feel disgusted, so how could she be hugged by him? In a hurry, she twisted her body, avoiding Miao Lin's outstretched hand. At this moment, the ship shook violently again. Yu Aoqing was in the middle of turning around, but this sudden shake really made it impossible for her to stand still, and she flew out diagonally, letting out a short cry of surprise. And the direction she flew out was actually Yang Kai's position. Yang Kai was wearing dirty clothes, holding a dirty broom in his hand. When he looked up and saw this scene, he was really shocked and did not know what to say. He stood here, just to eavesdrop on the two's conversation, to inquire about some information. How could he have thought that such a dramatic scene would occur? Seeing that Yu Aoqing was about to throw herself at him, at this critical moment, Yang Kai pretended to slip, falling on his back, and also rushed forward a long distance. Almost at the same time he fell, Yu Aoqing flew over him, falling heavily on the deck. She just couldn't die. Next to her, dirty water was poured over her head. A beauty admired by countless men, in an instant became a drowned rat. Her clothes and hair were all wet. Smelling the dirty water on her body, Yu Aoqing almost vomited. Yang Kai also wailed on the ground, making a normal person's reaction. A beauty was flying towards him. As a normal man, what he should do was naturally to catch her steadily. Even if he was injured, he must not let her fall. But Yu Aoqing was not a Buddhist woman, and Miao Lin was not a kind man. Yang Kai was sure that if he had caught Yu Aoqing, then what he would have to face was the anger of this man and woman. Yu Aoqing would be treated like an ordinary person because of him. Moreover, it would be a lowly servant who had touched her body, and Miao Lin would be angry because of jealousy, and he would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. So avoiding her was the best choice. The ship was still shaking. Miao Lin rushed to Ao Qing's side, and finally found a chance to get close, and helped her up, saying in surprise, "Senior sister, are you okay?" "Get lost." Ao Qing could no longer bear it. If this disgusting man did not want to hug her, how could she be thrown away? How could she be drenched in dirty water? How could she lose face and stink? At this moment, Ao Qing's heart was filled with killing intent. Being yelled at by her, Miao Lin looked stunned, and hurriedly took 2 steps back. At this time, many cultivators rushed to the cabin. Yu Xiaoping was among them. He rushed to the deck and looked down, his face changing. "It's the monster beast." All disciples prepare to fight. Looking up, seeing the dirty Ao Qing, he could not help but be stunned. "Qing, are you hurt?" Ao Qing clenched her teeth, staring at Miao Lin with incomparable resentment, then slowly shook her head. "You go back and rest. You don't need to worry about this." Yu Xiaoping shouted. "Senior sister, I'll send you off." Miao Lin immediately followed. Ao Qing growled, her beautiful and dirty figure quickly disappearing from the deck. On the ship, those ordinary people were also quickly evacuating. The Red Cloud sect cultivator did not care about their life or death at this moment. If they stayed on the deck, it would be disastrous. Suddenly, a monstrous wave surged up from the side of the ship, bombarding the ship, shaking it a few times. Yang Kai hurriedly got up and followed the ordinary people into the cabin. Everyone huddled together, shivering. Many people were muttering incessantly, praying that the ship would not sink. If this ship sank, except for the 2 immortal ascension boundary supreme elders, everyone else would probably die in the sea. Yang Kai listened for a moment, his tense mood gradually relaxing. He found that the 2 supreme elders of the Red Cloud sect did not move, which meant that the monster beast was not high level, and Yu Xiaoping was enough to deal with it. However, the number of these monster beasts was quite large, and from all directions came crashing sounds. The battle lasted for a full 2 hours before it gradually stopped. The attacking demonic beasts were either killed or repelled, and the noisy activity finally calmed down. The Red Cloud sect's victory, even the ordinary people could not help but cheer, as if they had also won the battle. Yang Kai saw this and only felt a burst of sadness. Not long after, the Red Cloud sect disciples called the ordinary people to clean the deck. When everyone came up to see, they were all shocked. On the deck, there were bloodstains everywhere, and there were also some strange-looking big fish. At this moment, they were all dead, their mouths wide open, their mouths full of fangs. No one from the Red Cloud sect died, only a few of the weaker ones were injured, but there were no major problems. Yang Kai followed the crowd to clean the deck of the ship's bloodstains, taking care of the sea monster beast that had been killed, sweating profusely and smelling of blood. Perhaps it was because they had already entered the depths of the sea, but after the first monster beast attack, in the next few days, monster beasts would come to visit them, and as time passed, the strength of these monster beasts also became stronger and stronger. In order to deal with these monster beasts, many sick ordinary people were ruthlessly thrown into the sea to attract the attention of the monster beast. Yu Xiaoping's face became more and more serious day by day, and Miao Lin was often called by him to the deck, where the 2 of them studied a turtle shell that was about the size of a millstone. Chapter 181. Half a month after leaving Red Cloud's island, the ship seemed to have lost its way. Yu Xiaoping was so anxious that his mouth started to burn. He was in charge of the turtle shell and was responsible for taking people to the hidden island. It could be said that the lives of the people on the ship were in his hands. He had a long way to go, but now he couldn't find the correct route. He was impatient and could no longer treat Miao Lin as calmly as before. Yang Kai often saw him yelling at Miao Lin on the deck, forcing him to tell him the information he had. Miao Lin naturally didn't dare to hide anything and told him everything he knew. The attacks of the monster beast in the sea were becoming more frequent and fierce. The 2 supreme elders of the Red Cloud sect had participated in the battle time and time again. If it weren't for them, the ship would have already been smashed into pieces by the monster beast. Even so, the Red Cloud sect had suffered heavy losses. More than a dozen of the 50 disciples they brought had died, and only half of the 70 ordinary people were left. The other half were thrown into the sea by the Red Cloud's sect to attract the attention of the monster beast. On this ship, as long as you fell ill, it was equivalent to being abandoned. Yang Kai had seen what it meant to be cruel and merciless. In the face of the ordinary people who had no resistance, the Red Cloud's sect's cultivator threw them into the sea under the sharp teeth of the monster beast as if they were livestock, just to delay a little bit of time. Human lives here were as light as grass. The remaining ordinary people lived in fear and trepidation every day. After 3 days, the people on the ship became even fewer. But the ship seemed to be in a sea territory and couldn't find the correct direction of the hidden island. Miao Lin was slapped a few times by the angry Yu Xiaoping. His mouth was full of blood, but he didn't dare to complain. On this day, when the sun rose in the east, Yang Kai, who was resting under the cabin, suddenly heard a surprised shout from the deck. "Hidden island, hidden island." This shout was filled with the joy and excitement of surviving a desperate situation, and it reached almost everyone's ears. Dang dang dang, all of the Red Cloud sect's cultivator began to move as they hurriedly rushed to the deck. The ordinary people also did the same. Yang Kai followed the crowd to the deck. When he looked up, he couldn't help but be shaken. Under the scorching sun, there was an illusory scene floating in midair a few thousand feet in front of the ship. It was a scene like a paradise. High mountains, flowing water, high mountains, and steep ridges. Birds flew in flocks in the sky, and there seemed to be the tinkling sound of a mountain spring in one's ears. What entered one's eyes was a scene that was too beautiful to behold. It was exceptionally enchanting, and there was an otherworldly aura everywhere. It was like a treasured land that no one had set foot on for thousands of years. Numerous rare flowers, plants, and peerless spirit medicines swayed in the wind as they grew healthily. It was lush and verdant, filled with the sound of birds chirping and the fragrance of flowers. There were also many unknown animals that flashed past everyone's eyes. They even brought along a string of colorful lights as they ran. Rush. Yang Kai was fortunate enough to see this kind of beautiful scenery before in Sea City. Now that he saw it again, he naturally recognized it at a glance. It was rumored that the scenery that appeared in the mirage was real, but because of some special reasons, it was discounted to 10 million for the world to see. But this time, the mirage was somewhat different from the last time because it was too real. It was so real that it was as if he could reach out and touch it. It was as if it was real in front of his eyes. Yu Xiaoping was emotional. He held the huge turtle shell with both hands and carefully examined it. Suddenly, he laughed. I understand. Sea City is now the time to enter the island. No wonder we couldn't find the door, so it was like this." The 2 Red Cloud sect's supreme elders were also emotional at this moment. The old man, Ding Jiazi, asked in a deep voice, "Xiaoping, what's the situation now?" The old woman, Huxiang also looked over. Yu Xiaoping didn't dare to neglect. With an excited smile on his face, he respectfully said, "Martial uncles, I think we have arrived at the location of the hidden island." But Huxianglan's seemingly turbid eyes flashed with a trace of light. Yu Xiaoping pointed to the mirage in front of them and said, "There." After saying that, he hurriedly handed the tortoise shell in his hand to the 2 Grand Supreme Elders. "Martial uncles, please inject your vitality into this island guide. With the help of this island guide, we will be able to open the entrance to the island." Ding Jiazi and Huxianglan looked at each other and didn't hesitate. They took the huge turtle shell together and then operated Yuan Qi, fiercely pouring it into the turtle shell. This turtle shell seemed ordinary, but in fact, it was very famous. Usually, no matter how others tried to probe it, they couldn't feel anything unusual. But at this moment, when Ding Jiazi and Huxianglan poured Yuan Qi into it, they found that the turtle shell had become a bottomless hole, crazily swallowing their Yuan Qi. In just a short while, the 2 elderly Grand Elders were already on the verge of collapsing, their faces pale. "Not good." Ding Jiazi cried out in alarm and shouted towards the Red Cloud sect's cultivators, "What are you looking at? Quickly come and help me." When the Red Cloud sect cultivator heard this, they quickly rushed over and poured their Yuan Qi into the turtle shell. With the help of these people, Ding Jiazi and Huxiang were able to stabilize their position. Not long after, the plain turtle shell suddenly bloomed with a rainbow light. There seemed to be murmuring sounds coming from inside the turtle shell. The road map engraved on top of the turtle shell also seemed to be alive, constantly moving. One after another, the cultivator was drained of all their yuan qi and withdrew, exhausted. Only when the Red Cloud sect cultivator took turns to go up did the turtle shell seem to be full. The rainbow light that shot out from the turtle shell was as dazzling as the sun. Suddenly, Ding Jiazi and Huxiang exclaimed at the same time. A dense light burst out from the turtle shell, forcing the two people to retreat. The turtle shell turned into a stream of light and rushed straight to the sky. Two martial uncles. Yu Xiaoping was shocked. Ding Jiazi and Huxiang stood firm. Their faces were pale, but they waved their hands to indicate that they were fine. Everyone looked up and saw that the tortoise shell had flown several thousand feet away, landing right on top of the Fata Morgana. As rays of rainbow light shot out, the beautiful Fata Morgana slowly crumbled apart. With the disappearance of the mirage, it was as if an invisible barrier was broken. In everyone's field of vision, an island that was much larger than Red Cloud Island appeared without warning. Hidden Island. Yu Xiaoping's voice was trembling. On the ship, the Red Cloud sect cultivator was silent for a moment. Suddenly, they cheered and shouted loudly to vent their excitement. The purpose of their trip was to find the hidden island. They did not expect things to go so smoothly. Although they experienced many dangers on the road, they were scared but not in danger. Now, the hidden island was in front of them. It was only a matter of time before they became famous. Not only were the Red Cloud sect cultivator excited, but the ordinary people were also excited. They had heard rumors about the hidden island, but who would have thought that they would see it with their own eyes in their lifetime? Set sail. Target, the hidden island. Yu Xiaoping suppressed his joy and methodically issued various orders. However, before the people on the ship could take their places, an extremely uneasy feeling rose in everyone's heart. The originally calm sea suddenly had some waves, and the sea beside the ship bubbled up, as if it was boiling. What's wrong? Someone asked in panic. Ding Jiazi and Huxiang looked dignified. They spread out their divine sense and their expressions suddenly changed. At the same time, they exclaimed, "Be careful!" Before their voices fell, a huge wave rushed out from the left side of the ship. Something that looked like a tentacle suddenly came out from under the sea. The tentacle was huge, more than 10 feet long. It directly hit the deck of the ship with a thunderous force. Several ordinary people who could not dodge in time were smashed into meat paste on the spot. Accompanied by a loud noise, the deck turned into fragments and flew in all directions. The Red Cloud sect cultivator, under the leadership of the two supreme elders, attacked the tentacle. For a time, a variety of martial arts and weapons flew all over the sky. But no matter what kind of attack hit the tentacle, it could not hurt it. Even the means of the two supreme elders could not do anything to it. Hua! On the other side of the ship, another tentacle soared into the air and slammed down fiercely. This time, it hit the bow of the ship. The stern of the ship, which was more than 20 zhang long, was tilted up. The violent shaking caused everyone to lose their footing. The true element boundary masters and above used their true essence to fly into the air, while the rest of the martial artists and ordinary people fled in panic. "Steady, steady for me!" Yu Xiaoping shouted with all his strength, but how could he calm the people? Hua hua hua! 7 or 8 tentacles stretched out from under the sea at the same time, directly wrapped around the ship and dragged it to the bottom of the sea. A huge force came and everyone could feel themselves sinking quickly. It must be the island guardian monster beast. Ding Jiazi saw this scene and his face was aghast. The strength of the island guardian monster beast was beyond his imagination. With his means, he could not cope with it. He immediately called Huxiang, "You and I will attack together and see if we can drive it away." Huxiang looked serious and nodded. Before she made a move, her eyes widened. She shouted at Ding Jiazi, "Brother Ding, behind you!" Ding Jiazi was stunned. He only felt a gust of wind coming from behind him. Soon after, his back was fiercely slapped. His whole body seemed to have been struck by lightning. With a sound, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a falling meteorite, he smashed into the sea. Not waiting for him to fall into the sea, another tentacle stretched out from under the sea and accurately rolled him up. Ding Jiazi's mouth made a sensational scream. The sound of bones breaking came from his body. He desperately urged his yuan qi, but still could not get rid of it. He stretched out a hand to Huxiang Lan and sorrowfully shouted, "Sister Lan, save me." The two Red Cloud sect's supreme elders had an ill-fated relationship when they were young. They loved each other so much that they even became husband and wife. But later on, they did not know what happened. The two were no longer as close as before. Although they still contacted each other in private, they were not as harmonious as before. Now, facing Ding Jiazi's call for help, Huxiang Lan was stunned. She immediately used her movement skill and rushed to the hidden island without looking back. This monster beast could seriously injure Ding Jiazi. Naturally, it was not something she could deal with. In order to save her life, how could Huxiang Lan dare to stay here? She did not care about Ding Jiazi. She also did not care about the Red Cloud sect cultivator on the ship. The most important thing now was to save her own life. Ding Jiazi smiled miserably. Husband and wife are birds in the same forest. When disaster comes, they fly separately. Bitch. Chapter 182. Just as he finished speaking, Ding Jiazi's body was directly cut into two pieces. Thick blood spurted out and his internal organs scattered. His eyes widened as he fell into the sea. The Supreme Elder was killed in an instant. How could the Red Cloud sect cultivator still have the strength to fight? This tyrannical monster beast had not yet revealed its full face, yet it was already so powerful. What would happen if it revealed its true body? The original joy of finding the hidden island disappeared at this moment, leaving only a deep fear. Half of the big ship was dragged under the water, and the huge tentacle was still beating the hull. Every time it beat, the big ship became more and more tattered. What should we do? A Red Cloud sect cultivator cried out. He was still young, he still had a beautiful future, how could he fall here? Just as he finished speaking, he was smashed into minced meat by a tentacle, leaving behind only a voice full of lofty aspirations. It was as bloody as purgatory. At this moment, there was almost no difference between a cultivator and an ordinary person. Under the attack of the huge tentacle, no matter who it was, as long as they were hit, they would die. When the Yuan Qi experts saw Huxiang Lan escape, they naturally flew towards the hidden island. How could they have the time to care about the life and death of those disciples? But even the Yuan Qi experts could not escape the attack of the monster beast under the sea. Flying in the air wasn't necessarily safe either. Those tentacles seemed to have eyes, and they accurately swept towards the true energy boundary experts flying in the air. Every time they wrapped around one of them, they would be strangled to death without question. Yang Kai's expression was cold. He watched from beginning to end. From the appearance of the huge tentacle until now, only 10 breaths of time had passed. More than half of the Red Cloud sect people were killed or injured, and even more ordinary people died. It was not safe to stay on the ship. After a while, the big ship would be smashed apart. Even if it was not smashed apart, it would be pulled into the sea. Jumping into the sea to escape, there may be a glimmer of hope. It was just a possibility. Kai Yang didn't want to sit still and wait for death, so he anxiously roared, "Jump ship!" He was not kindly reminding others, but if he jumped off the ship alone, it was easy to be targeted by those tentacles. If everyone jumped, they could distract the attention of the monster beast under the sea. Sure enough, after hearing Yang Kai's shout, those panicked people woke up as if from a dream. They hurriedly ran to the side of the ship and jumped without hesitation. Blood blossomed from the bottom one after another. Obviously, the people who jumped off the ship didn't escape, but there were still many people who were lucky and were swimming towards the hidden island. Feeling it was about time, Kai Yang also jumped down. The entire sea seemed to be boiling. Dozens of people were running for their lives in different directions. Yang Kai observed the situation as he swam, and soon he discovered something. It seemed that those who escaped quickly were more likely to be targeted. Most of the Red Cloud sect's martial artists had some sort of movement skill. Although many of them were unable to fly, their swimming speed was much faster than ordinary people. But from time to time, the people in the front would be swept by the tentacles from the bottom of the sea. In addition to a few bubbles, there was no trace of them. On the contrary, the ordinary people who fell behind were rarely attacked. Yang Kai did not know how the monster beast under the sea determined the position of these people, but since he found this situation, of course, he would take advantage of it. Holding his breath, restraining his breath and suppressing his heartbeat to the limit, Yang Kai was like a piece of duckweed on the sea. He slowly approached the hidden island. The tentacles did not look for him. While he was on edge, a violent crashing sound came from behind him. Yang Kai was shocked and turned his head. He saw a Red Cloud sect cultivator swimming towards him with a pale face. The movement was comparable to pouring salt into a pot of oil. Yang Kai secretly cursed. The Red Cloud sect cultivator quickly came to Yang Kai's side. Without looking at him, he put his hand on Yang Kai's shoulder, wanting to borrow his strength. At this time, a tentacle stretched out from behind the two people. Whether it was Yang Kai or the Red Cloud sect cultivator, they both found the crisis behind them. The Red Cloud sect cultivator was also clever. He put a little force on Yang Kai's shoulder, trying to grab him and throw him towards the tentacle. But when the Yuan Qi poured in, Yang Kai only floated up slightly and then sank back down. Instead, Yang Kai put his hand on the cultivator's shoulder. The vigorous and pure Yuan Qi poured out and directly hit the cultivator. The Red Cloud sect cultivator's face was full of shock and disbelief. Yang Kai's clothes were clearly the clothes of the ordinary people on the ship. He did not expect that this ordinary person would suddenly have the foundation of a cultivator. Caught off guard, he did not have time to react and flew out of the sea. The tentacle rolled and wrapped around him. Accompanied by a miserable scream, the man's bones were crushed. The broken bones pierced into his internal organs, instantly killing him. Yang Kai did not dare to move. He vigilantly stared at the tentacle in the air and narrowed his eyes. After a while, the tentacle slowly retracted and sank into the sea and disappeared. Sure enough, the more he moved, the more he would be targeted. Instead, like Yang Kai, not moving and not breathing was the most correct way to escape. After waiting for a while, Yang Kai continued to swim forward. The hidden island was not too far from the ship's accident site, but it was also not too close. It was about 10 miles away. This distance was nothing for a cultivator who lived by the sea for a long time. Even those ordinary people could easily swim across. Of course, the premise was that there was no strange tentacle attack. After spending a full hour, Yang Kai slowly swam to the hidden island. Stepping on the beach, Yang Kai directly collapsed on the ground. Lying on the ground, he looked up at the blue sky and gasped for breath. In this short hour, God knows how much he was worried. He was really afraid that a tentacle would suddenly appear behind him and roll him up. Fortunately, he found the right way to deal with it. The tentacle did not attack him from beginning to end. When he was escaping, he did not have time to care about the movements of other people around him. After a while, Yang Kai heard someone not far from him coughing softly. It was a woman's voice. Turning his head to look, after seeing who it was, Yang Kai secretly cursed his bad luck. On the beach 30 feet away, the Red Cloud sect's Yu Ao Qing was half kneeling on the ground. She was soaking wet, her clothes clinging to her body. Full breasts, full waist, round buttocks, slender legs. Her beauty was faintly discernible, causing people's imagination to run wild. She should have just escaped. She was vomiting seawater. Her wet hair was draped over her shoulders. Her beautiful face was somewhat pale. She looked pitiful. For this arrogant and vicious woman, Yang Kai did not have any good feelings. She sacrificed herself to obtain information from Miao Lin, but after that, she even wanted to throw Miao Lin into the sea. She really had a heart of snakes and scorpions. Although Yang Kai also wanted Miao Lin to die. Not wanting to have anything to do with her, Yang Kai quietly got up and walked towards the hidden island. You stop. Yang Kai did not want to have anything to do with her, but Yu Aoqing also saw Yang Kai and shouted behind him. Yang Kai ignored her and still walked forward. I told you to stop, did you not hear me? Yu Aoqing was furious. She quickly got up from the ground, her figure flashed a few times, blocking in front of Yang Kai. Yang Kai's expression was indifferent. When he was on the big ship, he was very careful, but here, that did not mean he had to be the same. Yu Aoqing's strength was at the separation and reunion boundary, much higher than Yang Kai's, but if they really fought, Yang Kai believed that even if he could not beat her, escaping would not be a problem. Yu Aoqing also looked at Yang Kai curiously. She had some impression of this ordinary person who worked as a menial worker on the ship, but she hadn't expected that he wouldn't show any fear when facing her. His expression was also quite calm. He was not old, only a 15 or 16-year-old boy, but his courage was not small. Yu Aoqing sneered in her heart, her yuan qi turned, drying her wet clothes, restoring her previous arrogant appearance, and said, I ask you, have you seen anyone else? Yang Kai frowned. Not a single one? There is one. You. Yu Aoqing took a deep breath, her breasts exaggeratedly rising and falling, almost breaking free from the shackles of her clothes, coldly said, You better behave, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Yang Kai did not like her cold arrogance, but he did not show it on his face. He was considering whether to get rid of this woman now and then rush into the hidden island. This was definitely a good time to escape. But before he could act, a cry of surprise came from the side. Senior Sister Qing, it's great that you're okay. Hearing this voice, Yang Kai's expression suddenly became strange. This was really a case of enemies meeting. Miao Lin had also come ashore nearby, and it seemed that he had been running for some time. At this moment, he was running from the palm trees on the side. Not only Miao Lin, but there was also another Red Cloud sect female disciple behind him. 3 Red Cloud sect cultivator, he could not deal with them for the time being. Yang Kai slowly put away his thoughts. Why didn't he drown? Yu Aoqing clenched her teeth and cursed. Apparently she did not expect to meet this annoying fly on the island. Good people don't pay with their lives. Scourges live for thousands of years. Yang Kai said meaningfully. Yu Aoqing glared at him coldly, a very approving smile appearing on her face. Miao Lin rushed to Yu Aoqing's side and said with great joy, Senior Sister Qing, it's great to see you. Yu Aoqing nodded lightly and arrogantly, her eyes cast behind him and asked, Are you two the only ones here? Miao Lin replied, Well, I came up earlier except for Senior Sister Zhang Yu, there is no one else nearby. The Red Cloud sect female disciple named Zhang Yu also walked over at this moment. The two sides converged. There were only 4 people, one of them was Yang Kai disguised as an ordinary person. The situation was worrying. Yu Aoqing ran her fingers through her hair, looking back at the sea, she could not help but sigh faintly. Yang Kai also took a look and found that more than a dozen kilometers away, the big ship had been reduced to a pile of broken planks. The surface of the sea was dyed red with many broken limbs and pieces of flesh floating there, attracting the attention of many sharks. It was like hell on earth. Can we go back? Yu Aoqing whispered softly. Chapter 183. Cough cough, I can't take it anymore. I'll eat and rest for a while. Originally, they thought that the Red Cloud sect was destined to become famous under the heavens after finding the hidden island. However, they didn't expect that the big ship would be destroyed. Even if the people who were still alive obtained some treasures from the hidden island, how could they return to the Red Cloud sect? Without a strong ship, even if they were immortal ascension boundary masters, they would not be able to cross the distance of nearly 10,000 miles. Sadness and a faint uneasiness surged in the hearts of the 3 Red Cloud sect disciples. The 3 of them were young and had never encountered any great hardships. On this day, they were attacked by the monster beast and witnessed the deaths of countless elders. Human lives were as fragile as ants. If not for their good luck, they would have been like those people, their corpses turned into food for the fish and beasts. Fortunately, they were able to escape, but now they were trapped on this isolated island with no hope of returning home. Naturally, they felt sad. Senior sister Qing, don't worry, junior brother will definitely find a chance to take you back. Miao Lin was well versed in picking up girls. Although his heart was panicking, he knew that this was the best time to show off, so he quickly opened his mouth and said with sincerity. Yuao Qing was already in a bad mood, so when she heard him boast so shamelessly, she could not help but sneer. What ability do you have to take me away? Can you build a ship that can withstand the monster beast's attack? Miao Lin was questioned, and his expression became awkward. Then can you cross this distance of 10,000 miles? Yuao Qing asked again. I can't. If you can't, then shut your mouth. Yuao Qing vented all her pent-up anger on the ship, and if it weren't for the fact that they were currently in dire straits, she would have already attacked Miao Lin. Zhang Yu quickly tried to persuade her, Senior sister Qing, don't be angry, Miao Lin was just casually speaking. Yuao Qing swung her hair, turned around and walked along the sea, while coldly saying, you don't have any ability, yet you still want to be a hero, overestimating yourself. Zhang Yu quickly followed. Miao Lin tried to comfort her, but after being ridiculed by Yuao Qing, his face turned ugly. He muttered under his breath, a trace of resentment flashing across his eyes. He then turned to look at Yang Kai, his murderous intent surging, seemingly wanting to vent his anger on Yang Kai. Take him with you. Yuao Qing's cold voice came from the front. Miao Lin hurriedly responded, shooting a hateful glare towards Yang Kai before shoving him away. The four of them walked along the beach in a certain direction. Although Yuao Qing did not say what she wanted to do, Yang Kai knew that she wanted to find the Red Cloud sect disciples who had scattered because of their escape. This was undoubtedly the correct approach. Now that they were all alone and had no elders to hold down the fort, they naturally had to find someone to meet up with. But after walking for a whole day on the beach, they only found 4 people in distress. Moreover, only 2 of them were Red Cloud sect's disciples and the other 2 were ordinary people. The others were all scattered to unknown places. The team had expanded to 8 people, but their overall strength had not increased by much. These 5 Red Cloud sect disciples were all from the younger generation. The last 2 Red Cloud sect disciples they found were a man and a woman. The man was called Qi Yuan and the woman was called Luo Qianqian. Their strength was not very good, probably between the peak of the Qi transformation stage and the separation and reunion boundary. Not being able to find the elders, Yuao Qing looked a little flustered. Among the 5 Red Cloud sect disciples here, she was the strongest. She was already at the separation and reunion boundary 6th stage, the others were not as strong as her. Moreover, her status in the Red Cloud sect was quite high, so everyone naturally looked to her as their leader. They all expected her to lead them to the right path. This burden on her shoulders made her feel somewhat at a loss. At night, 3 ordinary people were instructed by the Red Cloud sect disciples to gather some firewood and set up a bonfire on the beach. Everyone gathered together to discuss what to do next. Some people proposed to look for the elders again, while others said to stay here and wait for others to find them. Their opinions were not unanimous. In the end, Yuao Qing said, since we have entered Hidden Island, we can't waste this opportunity. Tomorrow we will explore the island. Maybe we will meet our martial uncles. Even if we don't meet them, if we get an opportunity, maybe we can leave here and return to the Red Cloud sect. Everyone felt that Yuao Qing's words were reasonable. Moreover, the wealth and opportunities hidden in Hidden Island were the biggest reason why they were so excited. Yang Kai waited for them to finish their discussion before he said, Masters, if you enter the island, can you not bring the 3 of us with you? We are just seaside fishermen. In case we encounter any danger, we can't fight like you, we can only be a burden. The other 2 ordinary people also thought so, but they were not as bold as Yang Kai. At this moment, they all looked at Yuao Qing expectantly. They knew that the decision was in Yuao Qing's hands. Zhang Yu frowned slightly and nodded. Yes, it is indeed a burden to bring you along. Originally, she thought that Yuao Qing would agree to leave these 3 ordinary people here, But she did not expect that Yuao Qing would only think for a moment before shaking her head and saying with a smile, "You were brought in by my Red Cloud sect. If we leave you here, you may encounter some danger. It is better to follow us and hope to get out of here alive." "Bitch." Yang Kai cursed. How could he not know what Yuao Qing was thinking? This beautiful woman with a heart as venomous as a snake and scorpion would never be so kind. Although he thought so, he had no choice but to express his gratitude, sighing that he would have to follow the Red Cloud sect for a few more days. Anyway, he did not know much about Hidden Island, so he could follow them to explore the situation. When there was really danger, he would not be afraid of not finding a chance to escape. At night, the 5 Red Cloud sect disciples took turns to keep watch. The next day, a group of 8 people stepped into Hidden Island to explore. As soon as they entered the island, Yuao Qing revealed her true purpose, letting one of the ordinary people lead the way while the others followed behind. Although this person was extremely frightened under Yuao Qing's threat, he had no choice but to obey. It was not until now that everyone knew why Yuao Qing insisted on bringing ordinary people. It was to be used as a pathfinder. After walking for a long time, they went deeper and deeper into the forest. They were surrounded by towering ancient trees that swayed endlessly. The rustling sounds made people feel uneasy. The ordinary person who was leading the way was like a frightened bird. His legs went soft and he fell to the ground, crying and begging for mercy. The Red Cloud sect disciples ignored him and continued to threaten him. After a long time, the ordinary person once again summoned the courage to walk forward. At noon, a row of fruit trees suddenly appeared in front of them, bearing some bright red fruits. No one knew what these fruits were, but they smelled very fragrant. The group was tired and hungry. At this moment, seeing so many fruits, their appetite was naturally aroused, and they could not help but swallow their saliva. Luo Qianqian reached out and picked one, wanting to taste it, but Yuao Qing coldly shouted, "Wait!" Luo Qianqian's action paused, looking at her in confusion. "What's wrong?" Yuao Qing's face was cold. She took the fruit, her beautiful eyes looking at the 3 ordinary people. Seeing her expression, everyone knew what she wanted to do. In the case of not knowing whether this fruit was poisonous or not, the best way was to find someone to try it. The 2 ordinary people both looked flustered, not daring to look at her. Yang Kai also pretended to do the same. Yuao Qing looked at Yang Kai. She walked in front of him and stuffed the fruit into his hand, saying, "Eat it." Yang Kai held back his anger. Looking down at the fruit in his hand, he put it to the tip of his nose and smelled it. Intuitively, he felt that it was not poisonous, but in this world, what was good and what was bad, who could say clearly? "Eat it, it's not poisonous." Old Demon's voice came. "This little girl is really not a good thing. Do you recognize this?" Yang Kai asked with concern. If not for the old demon's reminder, Yang Kai would have made a scene even if it exposed his identity, but since the old demon said it was not poisonous, naturally he could eat it. In any case, he was hungry. Although his heart was clear, his face was still filled with embarrassment. Looking at the fruit in his hand, he felt like it was the most powerful poison in the world. Under Yuao Qing's repeated urging, Yang Kai reluctantly took a bite. It was very fragrant and sweet, somewhat like a ripe persimmon, but much more chewy. "More," Yuao Qing ordered with a cold face. "Old demon, if I can kill this woman, I want you to torture her immortal soul." Yang Kai secretly swore in his heart. Old servant obeys. Old demon smiled. Waiting for Yang Kai to finish eating the whole fruit, the other 7 people did not move, all eagerly waiting for his reaction. After waiting for half an hour, seeing that Yang Kai was still fine, Yuao Qing involuntarily breathed a sigh of relief, waving her hand and saying, "You can eat, we'll rest here for a while, then we'll be on our way." Hearing her say so, Miao Lin and Qi Yuan quickly went forward to pick the fruit. The 3 Red Cloud female disciples did not move. After a moment, Miao Lin and Qi Yuan came back with a lot of fruit, eagerly handing it to the 3 women. Miao Lin was not stingy with his praise. "Senior Sister Qing is so clever. This time, if it weren't for you, I'm afraid we wouldn't have lived for more than a few days before being poisoned to death." Zhang Yu also said, "Yes, I've long heard that Senior Sister Qing is intelligent. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation." Hearing such praise, a faint smile appeared on Yu Aoqing's cold face. While the 5 Red Cloud disciples were eating, Yang Kai and the other 2 ordinary people were not idle, constantly stuffing fruit into their mouths. There was a row of fruit trees here that bore quite a lot of fruits. The 8 of them ate and took, sweeping all the fruits clean. After eating and drinking, they once again set out. Perhaps because Yang Kai had taken a lot of risks, this time, the person leading the way was not him, but another ordinary person. After walking for a while, Qi Yuan suddenly pointed to the side and said, "Look over there, there's something flashing." Everyone looked in the direction he was pointing, and indeed found that there was a little shining light in the grass. "Let's go and see," Yu Aoqing ordered. Soon, everyone came 30 feet away from the flashing light. Yu Aoqing's cautiousness was once again reflected. As usual, she let an ordinary person test it out, while she stayed in place. Chapter 184. With his life in the hands of others, this ordinary person had no choice but to submit to Yu Aoqing's tyrannical authority. Trembling, he stepped forward to take a look and said, "Masters, this is just a small blade of grass." Hearing him say this, the 5 Red Cloud sect disciples couldn't help but tremble. Zhang Yu hurriedly asked, "What kind of grass?" "It's snow white, very beautiful," the man replied, then asked again, "Do you want me to pick it up?" "Don't touch it," Yu Aoqing coldly shouted, then led the Red Cloud sect disciples forward. Yang Kai also followed. When they approached, the 5 Red Cloud sect disciples couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. It was indeed a snow-white grass, as eye-catching as jade. It looked crystal clear, and some fluorescent liquid could be vaguely seen flowing through the grass's meridians. "Heavens!" Zhang Yu exclaimed, "It's ice-skin jade bone grass." Yu Aoqing's face also showed a smile. "Sure enough, it's an earth-grade high-rank spirit grass." Luo Qianqian was also quite excited, while Qi Yuan and Miao Lin were still calm. The reason for this was because the ice-flesh jade bone grass was a spirit grass that was specially made for females. It was similar to the beauty's core that Yang Kai obtained in the Red Cloud sect's right peninsula. If a woman took the beauty's core, it would make her appearance slightly more beautiful, and if a woman took the ice-skin jade bone grass, it would make her skin crystal clear, delicate like a newborn baby. If the two were used together, it was enough to turn an ugly woman into a beautiful woman, having the effect of being reborn. Women loved beauty, and there were 3 women here. Which one of them didn't want to become more beautiful? Seeing this ice-skin jade bone grass, they would naturally be happy. "Just entering Hidden Island and we've already obtained such a treasure. It looks like our trip will be a big harvest." Miao Lin looked quite excited. Yu Aoqing didn't hesitate, directly bending down to pick the ice-skin jade bone grass, then took out a jade box from her arms and carefully put it inside. Zhang Yu and Luo Qianqian both looked at her, wanting to say something but hesitated. Yu Aoqing smiled. "When we return to the sect, I'll let the people of the Pill Hall refine it. 2 junior sisters will definitely have a share." She also knew that now was not the right time to have a dispute with the Shimen, so she tried to appease them. Sure enough, Zhang Yu and Luo Qianqian's faces lit up with smiles. "Thank you, Senior Sister Qing. When the time comes to ask the Pill Hall to refine pills, we'll need Senior Sister Qing's help." After obtaining an Earth-grade high-rank spirit grass, the worry and anxiety of the Red Cloud sect's group was swept away, and the uneasiness that lingered in their hearts gradually dissipated, instead becoming relaxed and cheerful. It was as if they had not fallen into this place, but had come here in search of treasures. But it has to be said that the Hidden Island was a place that no one had set foot on for many years, so it did have a lot of natural treasures. After walking in the Hidden Island for 2 days, the harvest was already full. They collected more than a dozen kinds of exotic flowers and herbs, all of which were above the Earth-grade mid-grade. They even found 1 or 2 Heaven-grade herbs here. With this harvest, the 5 Red Cloud sect members were even more motivated. On this day, as they were walking, an expanse of hazy fog suddenly appeared before them, and it obstructed their line of sight. This fog looked strange, and the ordinary person leading the group stopped. his face showing some hesitation and fear as he turned to look at Yu Aoqing. "Keep going." Yu Aoqing remained unmoved, her beautiful face full of ruthlessness. The man had no choice but to walk forward. But just as his body merged into the fog, there was a sudden burst of crackling sounds, and a tragic cry came out of his mouth. It was short and hurried, and then his whole body collapsed to the ground, twitching nonstop. Everyone's face changed color, and they all stepped back, looking at the man's changes in horror. They saw that the man seemed to have been thrown into a pot of boiling oil, as if he was being melted by a raging fire. His body constantly emitted bursts of white gas, and his flesh and blood separated from his bones, falling to the ground and turning into a pool of dark red blood. In less than 5 breaths of time, a living person's flesh and blood was completely gone, turning into a pile of bones spread out on the ground. The air was filled with an indescribable smell. Ugh! Zhang Yu and Luo Qianqian were so scared that their pretty faces turned pale, bending over and vomiting. Although Miao Lin and Qi Yuan were better off, they were not much better. Yu Aoqing's long eyelashes trembled uneasily, her face and lips suddenly lost all color, becoming extremely pale. Although she was also pale, she was not as bad as Zhang Yu and Luo Qianqian. The commoner who was standing beside Kai Yang felt his legs go soft as he fell to the ground. In the field, the only one who was still calm was Yang Kai. Even so, he felt a chill rising from the soles of his feet. If he had gone in, he was afraid he would have ended up like this. But then again, if Yu Aoqing had really forced him to go in, Yang Kai would not have taken the risk. "This fog is highly toxic." Yu Aoqing stiffly turned around, glancing at the crowd, pretending to be calm, and said in a trembling voice, "Let's go around." Everyone had just seen such a terrible scene, so naturally they could not wait to leave, and at this moment they quickly followed Yu Aoqing's footsteps. After walking for a few miles, the crowd finally calmed down. After surviving this calamity, the Red Cloud sect disciples all looked at Yu Aoqing gratefully. If it weren't for her cautiousness, this time, one of the Red Cloud sect disciples would have perished in the fog, and that person might have been them. After this incident, they were even more impressed with Yu Aoqing's decision to bring ordinary people to explore. Yang Kai also knew that he should look for an opportunity to leave. Otherwise, if they encountered a dangerous place like the one just now, he would definitely be pushed out by Yu Aoqing. If he stayed with this group of people, sooner or later he would be killed by that scorpion woman. Now he only lacked an opportunity to make them panic and have no time to think about other things. The group was resting when a rustling sound suddenly entered their ears. Yang Kai frowned, feeling something was wrong. "What's that sound?" Miao Lin was a little nervous, suddenly standing up. "Is there a sound?" Qi Yuan listened carefully. "Shoo, don't make a sound, listen carefully." Yu Aoqing apparently also heard something. The crowd held their breath and heard a buzzing sound coming from all directions. It sounded like the flight of bees, but it was evidently much louder than that. The buzzing sound was quickly approaching. Not only that, there was even a rustling sound coming from under their feet. Looking closely, they saw countless thin lines on the ground, gathering in the direction of their breathing, as if there was something underground that was quickly digging a hole to attack. "Not good, run." Yu Aoqing's face suddenly changed, exclaiming, hurriedly running in a direction. The several Red Cloud disciples quickly followed. Although Yang Kai was looking for a chance to escape, he did not want to be exposed too early, not to mention, he did not even know what the enemy was, so naturally he wanted to use the hands of the Red Cloud disciples to find out first. The speed of several people was very fast. After Yu Aoqing gave the order, they all flew out. After a few steps, suddenly there was a scream behind them. Everyone looked back, and in an instant they were scared out of their wits. They saw that the last ordinary person was now surrounded by a group of about the size of a bowl, strange-looking black insects. In his screams, his clothes were torn, his flesh and blood splattered, and in just a moment he fell to the ground dead. The eyes of several people trembled violently. Although they were cultivator, they did not recognize these ferocious insects. The unknown panic made them feel at a loss. Seeing the power of these insects, the 5 Red Cloud disciples ran even faster. At this moment, No one paid attention to Yang Kai. It was too late to escape. Who would care about him? After running for a while, Yu Aoqing suddenly stopped. The several people behind her quickly asked, "What's wrong?" "There are more in front. We are surrounded." Yu Aoqing's face was pale. Everyone looked, and sure enough, they saw a buzzing sound in front of them, an overwhelming number of black insects flying towards them. "Kill our way out." Yu Aoqing made a prompt decision. The Red Cloud disciples quickly took out their weapons and followed her into the swarm. There were a lot of insects, but their levels should be very low. The 5 Red Cloud disciples formed a triangle, and after a while, they actually killed these insects in droves. This gave them some hope, and they began to work even harder. Yang Kai followed behind them, perhaps because the attacks of the 5 Red Cloud disciples attracted the attention of these insects. He was safe and sound, not being targeted by the insects. "Old demon, what the hell is this?" Yang Kai asked as he moved forward. "This old servant has never seen it before." "You haven't seen it before?" Yang Kai was speechless. The old demon helplessly said, "Please forgive me, young master. I have lived for so long, yet I am still ignorant." This old demon, in a life or death situation, he still has the mood to talk nonsense. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly saw Qi Yuan reach out towards him, grabbing his collar and throwing him out. There were too many insects nearby, and for a moment he was unable to deal with them, so he wanted to use Yang Kai as a shield. Yang Kai's face went cold, knowing that he could no longer hide. His hands shot out, grabbing Qi Yuan's arm, and as he was about to be thrown out, he flipped over, neutralizing his strength. Landing on the ground, Yang Kai twisted his waist and threw him towards the swarm of insects. Qi Yuan was stunned, not understanding how he was thrown out, and in the next moment his body was surrounded by insects, screaming miserably. "Qi Yuan!" Zhang Yu shouted in horror, immediately staring coldly at Yang Kai. Yang Kai sneered, his true Yang Yuan Qi suddenly erupting, his body glowing red like a burning fireball. The 4 Red Cloud disciples were stunned by this sudden change. They never thought that the ordinary person they had been working with for several days would have such a change. Not paying attention to the 4 Red Cloud disciples, Yang Kai directly rushed in the direction Qi Yuan had been thrown out. The swarm of insects quickly surrounded him, but in front of the blazing true Yang Yuan Qi, these small winged things were simply unable to withstand a single blow, falling down like dumplings, unable to fly even close to Yang Kai's body. The 4 Red Cloud disciples watched as Yang Kai, wrapped in the blazing Yuan Qi, broke through a gap and elegantly left. Miao Lin was shocked, unable to close his mouth. "Don't be distracted, follow me out." Yu Aoqing bitterly glared at Yang Kai's back, gritting her teeth so hard they almost broke. It turned out that this person was not an ordinary person, but a cultivator who had hidden his strength. Chapter 185. Before, when he saw Yu Aoqing and the others being so flustered, Yang Kai thought that these insects would be very difficult to deal with, but now that he had personally dealt with them, he discovered that this was not the case. Perhaps Yu Aoqing and the others were difficult to deal with, but for him, it was a piece of cake. The wings of these little things were fragile, and their level was low. He didn't even need to make a move, just his hot Yang Qi was enough to burn their wings. Without the ability to fly, they could not pose much of a threat to Yang Kai. Their only advantage was their large numbers, and they could dig holes, shuttling through the ground. Their movements were extremely convenient, and they often jumped out from under Yang Kai's feet to attack him. Using his movement skill, Yang Kai quickly escaped the encirclement of the insects. After rushing forward a few miles, he suddenly stopped. He found that there was a hazy fog in front of him. It was the same fog that had just melted the ordinary person. What happened? Did he run back? Yang Kai was a little uncertain, and quickly ran along the edge of the fog, hoping to find a way out. But half an hour later, when a skeleton appeared in front of Yang Kai, his expression could not help but change. This skeleton belonged to the ordinary person who had just been melted. Not giving up, he continued to run. After a while, Yang Kai's face became gloomy. Not far in front of him, there was another corpse, but it was gnawed beyond recognition. The clothes on the corpse were familiar to Yang Kai. It was the uniform of the Red Cloud sect's disciples. And judging from the weapon beside him, this person was the one he had thrown out before, Qi Yuan. After running for so long, he was actually running in circles. The surrounding area of more than a dozen miles had been completely surrounded by the highly toxic fog. It wasn't until this moment that Yang Kai realized that these insects weren't as easy to deal with as they appeared to be. They were indeed unable to withstand a single blow from his Yang Qi, but he didn't know what kind of ability they had to actually use this highly toxic gas to seal off this large area. Unless he broke through the fog, there was no way to leave. Could he withstand the erosion of the fog? Yang Kai was not sure. After thinking for a long time, he finally decided to test the waters. Arriving at the edge of the fog, Yang Kai slowly stretched out his hand with a cold expression. His true Yang secret art was pushed to the limit, and he even used the unyielding will. As soon as his fingers touched the fog, Yang Kai retracted his hand as fast as lightning. A series of crackling sounds came from his fingertips. Looking down, Yang Kai's face sank. The piece of flesh at the tip of his finger was almost melted. A piercing pain came, and Yang Kai decisively cut off the piece of flesh. He tore off his clothes and wrapped them around his wound. After which, he took a deep breath and scanned his surroundings. He had just separated from Yu Ao Qing and the others nearby, but where were they now? With the fog surrounding them, no one could escape. There were no other corpses here, so where did they go? Sha sha sha, wung wung wung. Countless insects were like fish that smelled blood. They closed in on Yang Kai again. Yang Kai's expression changed. Forcing his true Yang Yuan Qi out of his body, he rushed to meet the insects head-on. It was as easy as before. After the wings of these strange insects were burned, they fell to the ground. However, their numbers did not decrease at all. Instead, there were more and more of them. Only God knew how many strange insects were hidden here. They covered the sky and covered the earth. Yang Kai ran while killing these little things. After circling several times around this area, he still could not find the slightest way out. He could not help feeling anxious. Although he had a lot of Yang liquid in his dantian, enough to support his slaughter, his physical strength was always limited. If his physical strength was exhausted, even if he had more Yang liquid, he could only sit and wait for death. Young Master, this kind of insect monster beast generally has an insect king, just like a bee. At the critical moment, the old demon spoke. What do you mean? Yang Kai took the time to ask. Old servant is saying that if we can control the insect king, we may be able to escape from here. Do you know where the insect king is? Ahem. Old servant does not know. Yang Kai was not in the mood to blame the old demon for his nonsense, but he had thought of a possibility. Perhaps these insects besieging him was not to kill him, but to hunt him down. The disappearance of Yu Ao Qing and the others, and the absence of any corpses, was the best proof. These Red Cloud sect disciples were most likely captured by these insects and taken somewhere. And that place should be the insect's nest. The same was true for the bees. Some bees were collecting honey outside, bringing it back for the queen bee to enjoy. Was it possible to interpret the behavior of these insects as collecting honey? The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. A bold plan slowly took shape in his mind. Carefully speculating about the success rate of this plan, Yang Kai put away his true Yang Yuan Qi, panting heavily as he looked at the insects. Yang Kai no longer resisted, and the insects no longer attacked, instead surrounding him layer by layer. Young Master, what are you doing? The old demon was shocked. Doing an experiment. Yang Kai's face was calm. He could not escape the fog surrounding him, and if he continued to fight like this, sooner or later he would die of exhaustion, so he might as well take advantage of this opportunity to fight back. If his guess was right, there would be some hope of survival. After confronting each other for a moment, the insects suddenly separated from each other and flew towards Yang Kai. The old demon shouted, "Young Master, you can't just sit here and wait for death." Shut up. Yang Kai did not want to listen to him. All of his attention was focused on the dozens of insects rushing over, his whole body tensed up like a bow, waiting for the right moment to strike again. But to his delight and spirits, after these insects flew onto him, they actually didn't have any intention of killing him. Instead, they dragged, pulled, knocked, and pushed him, and pulled him towards a certain direction. Sure enough, Yang Kai's mouth bloomed into a smile. In this way, it could explain why there were no corpses of Yu Aoqing and the others. Presumably, these people were also exhausted from fighting and were caught by the insects. Surrounded by tens of thousands of insects, the scene was a bit frightening, but Yang Kai's expression was indifferent, and he walked in the direction these insects were pulling him. Not long after, he came to a large pit. In this large pit, there was a dark cave, like the mouth of a man-eating beast, extremely ferocious. Yang Kai saw a tattered skirt at the mouth of the cave. The color and material were somewhat familiar. It was Yu Aoqing's. They had really been caught. The speculation in his heart had been completely confirmed, so Yang Kai had nothing to worry about, and without waiting for the insects to urge him, he jumped directly into the cave. An unpleasant stench hit him in the face. The inside of this cave was full of twists and turns, and the underground was full of tunnels opened by the insects. It looked like a completely different world. As Yang Kai walked, he paid attention to the direction and secretly left some marks where he passed. In the tunnels, from time to time, he could see many insects running back and forth. Moreover, the insects here were not only the size of bowls. There seemed to be many different kinds of insects. Some were almost the size of a person, some were the size of wash basins, some were the size of buckets, some were the size of basins, some were the size of buckets. They all looked extremely frightening. Because he had actually become a prisoner of a group of insects. Wait until I find your insect king, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. Yang Kai's mood fluctuated. Led by the insects, Yang Kai walked for a long time in the tunnel before arriving at a relatively spacious space. It was not an exaggeration to say that this place was a cave, but it was actually a place where the insects stored their food. Because when Yang Kai came in, he found that the Red Cloud sect people were all trapped here. Many eyes looked at Yang Kai, and Yang Kai heard a burst of malicious and gloating laughter. It was coming from Miao Lin. The Red Cloud sect people were more or less injured, and were sitting on the ground dispiritedly, all of them looking at Yang Kai with unkind eyes. The insects escorted Yang Kai here and then left, but outside the cave, there were several large insects taller than humans guarding, apparently to prevent these people from escaping. Entering the cave, Yang Kai did not pay attention to the Red Cloud sect people, and found a remote corner to sit down cross-legged. Yu Aoqing stared coldly at Yang Kai. Seeing him close his eyes in concentration, not speaking at all, she could not help but ask, "Who are you?" Yang Kai opened his eyes and lightly glanced at her. "Why did you sneak onto my Red Cloud sect's ship and hide your strength? Why are you so scheming?" Yu Aoqing asked in succession. Yang Kai looked at her disdainfully, slowly saying, "First, it was not me who wanted to sneak onto your ship, it was your Red Cloud sect who brought me here. Second, if I did not hide my strength, would I still be alive? Third, I have plotted and schemed only to survive. Woman, don't question me with that arrogant face. If not for your Red Cloud sect capturing people everywhere, how could I be here? You dare talk to me like that?" Yu Aoqing sneered. "Do you think you are so noble?" Yang Kai disdainfully said. "Senior Sister Qing, don't talk nonsense with him, he just killed Brother Qi Yuan." Miao Lin stared hatefully at Yang Kai. "We have to avenge Brother Qi Yuan." "Ha!" Yang Kai laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Miao Lin gnashed his teeth at Yang Kai. "Do you not know how to write the word death? Idiot." Yang Kai looked at him contemptuously. "When I was working on the ship, I heard this woman tell your elder Yu that when we found Hidden Island, she would throw you into the sea. It's ridiculous that you didn't know." Yu Aoqing panicked and quickly said, "I didn't say that." Then she glanced at Miao Lin and explained, "Don't listen to his nonsense." Miao Lin looked at Yang Kai and said, "Do you think I will believe your nonsense, slandering Senior Sister Qing?" "Senior Sister Qing, you don't have to explain, I know you won't do that." Only then did Yu Aoqing nod. Whether she said it or not, she knows best. Yang Kai said coldly, looking at Yu Aoqing, "You better not do anything, or you may alarm those insects." Yu Ao-ching took a deep breath, suppressing the murderous intent in her heart. She knew that what Yang Kai said was true. While they were talking, the big insects guarding outside had been alerted and were now poking their heads out to look at them. Although she wanted to kill Yang Kai, she really didn't dare to do it. The verbal confrontation was tasteless. Yang Kai just wanted to plant a thorn in Miao Lin's heart. After all, they were outnumbered. If they really wanted to deal with him, he would certainly not be able to get away with it. Only by making them suspect each other could he keep himself safe. Chapter 186. In the dark cave, Yang Kai and the Red Cloud sect members were on both sides, all recovering. From time to time, there would be a rustling sound coming from outside. It was the swarm of insects running back and forth. The 4 Red Cloud sect members were obviously not willing to sit still and wait for death. After recovering, they wanted to rush out. While they were recovering, they were also discussing, whispering to each other, guarding against Yang Kai's eavesdropping. After almost a day and a night, they were finally ready to move. Sneakily getting up, they slowly approached Yang Kai. Yu Ao-ching's pretty face was filled with murderous intent, so was Miao Lin. As for Zhang Yu and Luo Qianqian, they were following closely behind. Just as they approached Yang Kai, less than a foot away, Yang Kai suddenly opened his eyes, looking at them with a smile. The 4 Red Cloud sect members paused. Let me guess. Yang Kai remained calm. His voice was also very low. In order not to disturb those insects, you don't want to kill me now, do you? Yu Ao-ching was as cold as ice. Hearing this, she said, You know. Of course I know. Isn't this what you're good at? Letting others take the lead, taking the risk for you. I've already learned many times along the way. You want me to lead the charge, don't you? Yu Ao-ching nodded slightly, coldly saying, Since you know, don't try to resist, otherwise you'll be in for a treat. Yang Kai snorted, Indeed, I'm not your opponent, but if you want to kill me, I'm afraid you'll have to expend some effort. If you're not afraid our fighting will disturb those insects, feel free to try. Yu Ao-ching's expression froze, the reason why she was so careful. She was afraid of attracting the attention of those insects outside. Yang Kai obviously understood what she was planning, so his voice was also very low. I'm warning you, don't have any ideas about me. If you want to escape, you'll have to rely on your own ability. Yang Kai coldly snorted, I won't be your vanguard. Don't you want to escape? Yu Ao-ching saw that her threats had failed, her tone slightly eased. These insects brought us here, definitely not for good. Staying here will only lead to death. You and we will rush out together. Maybe there is still a way out. Yang Kai shook his head decisively. I want to escape, but I don't want to be used by others. Furthermore, even if I were to open the way for you, now that we've all escaped with our lives, how would I know that you won't do anything to me? I can make you a promise. Yu Ao-ching, seeing Yang Kai show signs of loosening his grip, hurriedly struck while the iron was hot. As long as you take the lead and we can escape, no one from the Red Cloud sect will bother you. You don't have to say any more. I won't believe a woman with a heart as vicious as a snake. Yang Kai sneered and closed his eyes. Yu Ao-ching and the others did not know that the outside had been surrounded by the fog created by these insects, but Yang Kai was clear. Even if they were lucky enough to escape this worm cave, they wouldn't be able to run too far. Since that was the case, why waste this energy? Senior Sister Qing, kill him. It's useless to keep him around. Miao Lin had long wanted to kill Yang Kai. Now that he couldn't use him, he naturally wanted to kill him. Yu Ao-ching took a deep breath. Slowly she shook her head. In this situation, escaping was the most important thing. Although this young man was hateful, if she really killed him, it would definitely alarm those insects, and the gains would not make up for the losses. You can escape as you wish, I won't ruin your plan. I also want to see if you can really leave this place. Yang Kai grinned at Yu Ao-ching. I hope you'll be bitten by those insects and die without a burial site. Yu Ao-ching viciously cursed Yang Kai, then turned to the other 3 and said, Let's go. The 4 Red Cloud sect disciples quietly left the cave. Perhaps because it was night, the several large insects guarding outside were not disturbed by their actions. still standing there foolishly. Soon, the four figures disappeared into the tunnel. But after half a cup of tea's time, there was a burst of fierce fighting outside, mixed with the shouts of the four Red Cloud sect disciples. Apparently, they had been exposed and were being targeted by those insects. The sound of fighting gradually faded away until it finally disappeared. Yang Kai's mouth curled into a sneer, unmoved, still calmly meditating. In fact, escaping from this insect cave was not difficult, because these insects were not very difficult to deal with. The four Red Cloud sect disciples were able to escape when they were discovered, so naturally Yang Kai could do the same. The only thing that trapped him was that strange fog. He did not know how those insects created it, but its lethality was so great that Yang Kai was quite afraid of it. After about 2 hours, Kai Yang heard the sound of heavy footsteps coming from outside. Opening his eyes, he saw Yu Ao Qing, her hair disheveled, looking exhausted, followed by Luo Qian, followed by Miao Lin. Zhang Yu was not here, so she should be dead. After those insects sent the three of them here again, the outer perimeter was much tighter. At this moment, the three Red Cloud sect disciples were no longer as domineering as before. All that was left was despair and exhaustion. Their bodies were covered with large and small wounds, looking extremely miserable. They did manage to escape from the insect cave, but they were chased by the insects that blotted out the sky and earth. In the end, they were unable to kill them all and were surrounded. After that, they were escorted back here. Yu Ao Qing and Luo Qian both squatted on the ground, their tender bodies trembling. Miao Lin was not much better. Glaring at Yang Kai, Yu Ao Qing was really afraid that he would hit her when she was down, but Yang Kai did not pay attention to her, still meditating with his eyes closed. Senior Sister Qing. Senior Sister Zhang Yu was dragged away by those insects. Where did they take her? Luo Qian asked in a trembling voice. How would I know? Yu Ao Qing replied somewhat impatiently. Do we not care about her? We can't even protect ourselves now. How can we take care of her? Yu Ao Qing clenched her fists. When Zhang Yu was separated from them, she did not die, but was seriously injured, and then was dragged to another tunnel by those insects. What kind of fate awaited her? Yu Ao Qing did not know. Just as the two were talking, suddenly there was a very mournful scream in the tunnel. The scream was extremely tragic, as if someone was being tortured. It was Zhang Yu's voice. Yu Ao Qing and Luo Qian turned pale, their bodies trembling even more. Miao Lin sat down on the ground. What happened to Senior Sister Zhang Yu? Who is torturing her? The blood-curdling screams rang out incessantly. It was clear that they were enduring unimaginable pain. The two women in the cave quickly covered their ears, no longer daring to listen. Yang Kai's heart was indifferent. Although these disciples of the Red Cloud sect were not good people, along the way, they were quite supportive of Yu Ao Qing's practice of using ordinary people as pawns. However, killing people was only a matter of time, but to be tortured before death was very cruel. Especially this torture. It was not given by humans. Zhang Yu's screams gradually weakened and soon disappeared. Or dead. We definitely can't get out. Miao Lin was a little scared. His strength was the lowest among the group, only in the Qi transformation stage. If it were not for the Red Cloud sect wanting to obtain information about the hidden island from him, how could they have brought him along? He thought it was an opportunity to show his face in the sect, but he did not expect to repeatedly encounter such a disaster. Now that he was in a dead-end situation, how could Miao Lin, this debauchee young master who was addicted to wine and women, bear it? No, we will get out of here alive. Senior Sister Qing will take us out, right? Luo Qian shook her head vigorously. So naive that it made people feel sad. We can't get out, no one can leave here alive. Miao Lin said in a daze. Shut up. Yu Ao Qing coldly rebuked. She turned to look at the always calm Yang Kai, compared to her junior brother and junior sister, and compared to herself, she suddenly discovered this young man's psychological quality. He was more determined than anyone else in the room. From beginning to end, he did not panic, nor did he have the slightest uneasiness. He just sat there quietly, so calm that it made people look at him in a new light. But Yu Ao Qing did not believe that he was willing to die. As time slowly passed, Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian's panic spread. Fear reached the limit, both of them were a little nervous. Although Yuao Qing's psychological quality was strong, it was not that strong. Squatting in the corner, holding her knees with both hands, she kept trembling. At this moment, she regretted very much. She regretted not following the big ship to explore the hidden island. She regretted not going to find her father when the ship was destroyed. Otherwise, she would not have fallen into this situation. If she had used Xiaoping's protection, it would have been better than the current situation. But at that time it was so chaotic, Yuao Qing did not know whether her father was still alive. After all, under the attack of the giant tentacle, even a supreme elder like Ding Jiazi died. Yu Xiaoping, a Yuan Qi 9th stage cultivator, if he died there, it was normal. But father, if you are alive, where are you? Her daughter was about to die. She called out to the heavens, but there was no answer. The proud Yuao Qing could not help but shed some tears. She did not know how much time had passed, but just as Yuao Qing was about to fall asleep, she suddenly heard some heavy breathing sound in front of her. Yuao Qing was shocked. Opening her eyes, she saw Miao Lin approaching her with a crazed look on his face. His eyes were burning with undisguised passion. Miao Lin, what are you doing? Yuao Qing shouted coldly, involuntarily shrinking back. Senior Sister Qing. Miao Lin licked his dry lips and smiled. Junior brother is deeply in love with you, senior sister knows, right? Yuao Qing frowned. She found that Miao Lin's situation was somewhat wrong. It seemed that under great pressure, his psychological defense was broken. Senior sister is like a goddess. Junior brother is very fond of you. Every night he dreams of you. Miao Lin continued to approach Yuao Qing, his mouth affectionately confessing. His words immediately changed. In the dream, we are honest with each other, making love with each other. You don't know how happy we are. These words made Yuao Qing a little angry, and she slapped Miao Lin's shoulder. How could Miao Lin resist? He flew back, but Yuao Qing was already exhausted, and her palm did not have much power, so naturally it did not hurt Miao Lin. Standing up again, Miao Lin still approached Yuao Qing with an obscene smile, shamelessly saying, Junior brother knows, senior sister's status is noble, and has always been a person with eyes above the top of her head. Because of this, I'm afraid senior sister hasn't had sex yet, right? Chapter 187. Miao Lin's words were so blunt, his intentions were obvious. Yuao Qing's pretty face turned cold, coldly saying, If you dare talk nonsense again, I'll kill you. Miao Lin was not afraid. Anyway, we're all going to die, what difference does it make? Senior sister, you've already lived in this world. Are you willing to die with your virginity? This is too much of a pity. It's better to let junior brother serve you tonight, let you taste the most wonderful pleasure in the world, then you can die without regrets. Yuao Qing gasped heavily, obviously enraged, her eyes cold as ice as she glared at Miao Lin. She had not expected that under the tremendous pressure of life and death, this junior brother she had always looked down upon would be so bold and crazy, even attempting to encroach on her. But Yuao Qing obviously would not let him do as he pleased. Killing intent flashed in her eyes. As long as Miao Lin dared to come closer, she would not hesitate to kill him. Miao Lin also saw this point. He was determined to go all out to get close to her, but he could not summon up the courage to do so. He and Yuao Qing were in a deadlock for a long time before he smiled and retreated. Yuao Qing could not help but relax. In this kind of place, unless it was absolutely necessary, she really did not want to fight with anyone. Silence reigned in the cave. But this silence did not last long. After about an incense stick worth of time, heavy breathing of a man and a woman could be heard at the same time. Yang Kai and Yuao Qing both frowned, looking in the direction of the sound. With just a glance, Yang Kai was speechless, and Yuao Qing was also stunned. Miao Lin did not manage to persuade Yuao Qing, but at this moment, he was actually kissing Luo Qianqian passionately. Perhaps it was Miao Lin's flowery words that worked, or perhaps it was the pressure of death that she needed to relax, or perhaps it was because Luo Qianqian was not a strong woman, but she and Miao Lin were hugging each other, rolling on the ground, hugging and groping each other, kissing fiercely. As if there was no one else around, the scene was hot and humid. Listening to the passionate breathing in the cave, Yang Kai's blood began to flow faster. His throat was burning and he couldn't help but purse his lips. He had been separated from Su Yan for 3 or 4 months now, and with the passage of time and the improvement of his own strength, the influence of the yin-yang joyous unification art on him had also become deeper and deeper. Previously, when he was exploring the hidden island on the Red Cloud sect's ship, it was still fine. In those days, he had to be careful everywhere, and there was no time to think about too many things. Later, when he was trapped in the hidden island, he had to act with Yu Ao Qing and the others, even though sometimes his heart would involuntarily have some thoughts. However, Yang Kai was able to suppress it with his own willpower. If nothing unexpected happened, Yang Kai believed that he could hold on for a long time until he returned to High Heaven Pavilion to find Su Yan for dual cultivation. But, even if you beat Yang Kai to death, he would never have thought that there would be a day when someone would act out a live sex scene in front of him, just 3 feet away from him, right under his nose. This kind of stimulation was more intense than any verbal or physical seduction. This is from the visual. His sense of hearing, smell, and omnidirectional stimulation. Even a saint would have some ripples in his heart, not to mention Yang Kai, who was deeply affected by the joyous unification art. It was like a beggar who had been hungry for several months, suddenly having a table full of delicacies placed in front of him. Yang Kai couldn't wait to slap Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian to death. Yang Kai felt uncomfortable all over. How could the other outsider, Yu Ao Qing, not feel uncomfortable? At first, she was stunned, her cheeks flushed red. Then, her small mouth opened slightly and she was stunned. It wasn't until Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian rolled over to her feet, their clothes in disarray and their breathing heavy, that they finally woke up from their stupor and hurriedly ran towards Yang Kai's direction. The cave was not big, so when Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian rolled on the ground, the space left for Yang Kai and Yu Ao Qing was very small. The scene was a bit strange and bizarre. Perhaps it was rare to see such a scene in thousands of years. A man and a woman were passionately venting on the ground, while another man and woman sat on the side and watched. No matter how one looked at it, this was the extravagant life of the rich. Adulterous couple. Yang Kai and Yu Ao Qing cursed in their hearts almost at the same time. But at this time, who could blame Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian? Yu Ao Qing was almost ashamed, and Yang Kai was not in the mood to meddle in other people's business. He was desperately trying to suppress the surging desire in his heart. Their breathing became heavier and heavier, and their clothes were scattered all over the ground. Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian soon faced each other. The air was humid, and the scene was very charming. Accompanied by a suppressed cry of surprise, immediately there was the sound of waves and a man and a woman moaning. Yu Ao Qing almost involuntarily leaned towards Yang Kai. At this time, she felt that this boy was the only one she could rely on, at least, compared to the confused Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian, he was much more reliable. "Get out of my way." Yang Kai was already struggling to resist, but Yu Ao Qing was still recklessly sticking to him. Her soft, tender body and the scent of a young girl wafted out, almost making Yang Kai's efforts go to waste. The rough attitude and the low cursing made Yu Ao Qing sober up a little. She angrily turned to stare at Yang Kai, but found that the other party was staring at her with a pair of scarlet eyes. These eyes, compared to Miao Lin's, they were filled with even more madness. Yu Ao Qing's whole body went cold. Only then did she remember that the boy beside her was also a man. She hurriedly dodged to the side, but the intense panting and moaning were like a demonic sound pouring into her ears, causing her body and mind to undulate along with it. Her entire body felt somewhat warm, as if there was a ball of fire burning in her lower abdomen. Even the breath she exhaled was scorching hot. A feeling she had never felt before spread throughout her body, making her feel weak and weak. In a panic, Yu Ao Qing hurriedly covered her ears with both hands, squatting to the side with an aggrieved expression, shaking her head vigorously. She had always been high and mighty in Red Cloud sect. Usually, any male of the same generation who saw her would be courteous, either showing off their great strength or their profound knowledge. She had never even heard of the matters between men and women, let alone someone who dared to be so presumptuous in front of her. Those weird noises and exaggerated movements were like sledgehammers smashing on her head, making her dizzy and almost unable to think. Time passed so slowly, every breath seemed to be a kind of torture. She did not know how much time had passed, but Yu Aoqing heard that junior sister Luo let out a high-pitched and sharp cry, like a dying scream. Even her breathing had stopped. This made her panic. Junior sister Luo was also dead? But then, this junior sister Luo inconceivably came back to life. She began to babble again. At this moment, Yu Aoqing no longer had the arrogance of the past. She was like a hedgehog that had been stripped of its thorns. She only wanted a quiet place to rest. Yang Kai was also unable to bear it. He felt that if he did not make a move, he was destined to fall. But before he could do anything, many large insects rushed in from the outside, arriving in front of Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian. It raised its sharp claws high up in the air and stabbed down fiercely. Real screams came out. Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian were almost penetrated together, and then dragged out by those large insects. "Senior Sister Qing, save me!" Luo Qianqian shouted in panic. Yu Aoqing was only trembling. How could she have the ability to save her? Blood was scattered along the road. Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian were dragged away by the large insects, gradually moving away. Not long after, the mournful screams gradually weakened and finally disappeared. As Miao Lin had said before, to be able to have a good time before death, she could die with no regrets. After waiting for the two people's voices to disappear for a long time, Yu Aoqing quietly let go of her ears and turned to look. After finding that they were no longer there, she could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. That scene just now had really embarrassed her to the point of being unable to show her face. So even if she knew that her junior brother and junior sister were dead, she did not feel the slightest regret, only relief. Just as she patted her chest and breathed a sigh of relief, she suddenly found that the boy was looking at her with a greedy gaze. Immediately, he jumped up, like a cheetah hunting for prey, fiercely pouncing towards her. He was panting heavily and his breath was boiling hot. Just like the presumptuous Miao Lin, no, even crazier than Miao Lin. "You court death!" Yu Aoqing shouted, raising her palm towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai also sent out a palm, Burning Sun's three-layer blast. 3 fierce bursts of true Yang Yuan Qi rushed into Yu Aoqing's delicate arm. Poor her, a dignified separation and reunion boundary 6-stage cultivator, who had just fought a battle with the insect swarm, had not yet recovered much Yuan Qi, and her mind was unstable, unable to display even 30% of her strength. How could she withstand Yang Kai's strange move? When the first burst of Yuan Qi burst out, she easily resolved it, but before she could breathe a sigh of relief, the second burst of Yuan Qi violently erupted. Yu Aoqing panicked and circulated her Yuan Qi to resist, finally managing to avoid danger. When the third burst of Yuan Qi burst out, Yu Aoqing's beautiful face suddenly turned pale. Screaming, she flew out like a broken kite. Her jade arm was broken. The pain was so excruciating that she almost burst into tears on the spot. Not waiting for her to get up, Yang Kai had already pounced on her and sent out another palm, dislocating her other arm. Yu Aoqing endured the pain, bent her knee, and viciously kicked Yang Kai's crotch. Yang Kai nimbly turned over, barely avoiding it, but with a sweep of his hand, Yu Aoqing let out a muffled groan, her thighs softly falling to the ground. With 3 of her 4 limbs broken, Yu Aoqing could not even stand up, let alone attack. She stared blankly as the young man's eyes turned red. Like a bull in heat, he bent down and leaned over her body, wantonly kissing her neck and cheeks. Her chest was kneaded by his hand. He didn't have the slightest bit of tenderness for the fairer sex. He only had violence and recklessness on his body. No. Yu Aoqing struggled, crying, listening to the sound of her clothes being torn, but she could not resist at all. The jade body that countless Red Cloud sect disciples dreamed of, but had no chance to get close to, gradually appeared in this cave, white and delicate, her skin as white as snow, delicate, her figure impressive. The young man kissed her all the way down, nibbled. Yu Aoqing could clearly feel that there were rows of teeth marks left on her body. A sense of humiliation welled up in her heart. Yu Aoqing's heart almost died. This young man, at this moment, seemed to have changed into a different person. He was like a demon full of evil, bloodthirsty and cruel to the point of making people's hearts palpitate. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, martial world, and tales of demons and gods.